Most men think porn addiction looks like enjoyment, excitement, anticipation, desire. But the clearest sign you're addicted to porn is not that you love it. It's that you want it and you don't like it. You reach for it, then regret it. You crave it, then feel empty. And in this episode, I want to explain why that inner conflict isn't hypocrisy, it's dependency. Welcome to the Man Within podcast. My name is Sathiya Sam. I'm your host, international speaker, and a men's transformation coach. And I've dedicated the last 7 years of my life to helping men like you quit pornography for good. So what we're really talking about today is a very common misunderstanding about addiction, which is that we think addiction is all about pleasure. And I must love it if I'm so addicted to it. The work that the concepts I'm gonna explain in the content today are inspired by Dr. Gary Wilson, who is probably the most prolific researcher in the porn addiction space. You're talking about hundreds of peer-reviewed articles. Now, he passed away during the pandemic, unfortunately, but he left behind a body of research. A huge collection of studies and data and findings that were really revolutionary for people trying to understand how the brain is impacted by pornography and how pornography impacts the brain and everything else. And you're gonna kind of notice me referencing him a little bit here throughout the material today. Now, the reality is early porn use does feel exciting. It is very pleasurable, and it's that initial high that keeps us hooked and wanting more. But what happens eventually is that the novelty fades and our satisfaction drops. And this is also why men eventually start to escalate their behavior, whether it's watching more intense material or it's, paying for sex, buying sex, it's whatever. Things escalate because the novelty fades, right? And it's not as satisfying as before. But there's this deeper inner confusion that exists, which is if I don't like it, right? The novelty's faded, the satisfaction isn't there anymore. Why do I still want it? So here's the important thing you need to understand. Addiction doesn't persist because it feels good. It persists because it feels familiar. So you have two things happening at once. You have these urges pulling you forward, and then you have your conscience kind of pulling you back, right? It's what Paul wrote in Romans 6. The things I do, I don't want to do. And the things I don't want to do, I do. Right? So you end up having these thoughts of like, I don't even enjoy this. Or why am I doing this again? This is disgusting. And it starts to create this confusion, this self-contempt, and really at its worst, it creates these shame spirals. We feel totally ashamed of ourselves. Now, the presence of disgust doesn't mean freedom, but it does mean awareness. It's actually a good thing that you have that awareness because it allows you to at least start to access or get an entry point to the real problem at hand. Now, here's why your brain wants what you don't like. Okay, porn becomes a coping mechanism, right? It might have started as pleasure, but now it's a coping mechanism for stress, loneliness, rejection, and pressure. And so the brain learns, oh, this reduces discomfort. And so the desire becomes automatic. It doesn't need a lot of things at play, or it doesn't need the right conditions. It just needs something uncomfortable, and the desire for porn will erupt very shortly after because the brain wants to reduce that pain. It wants to reduce that discomfort. And so the enjoyment that pornography once provided fades, but the reliance remains. See, you're not chasing pleasure, you're chasing relief. And the reason that this is the clearest sign of addiction is because when you have healthy desire, you're aligned and you're integrated and you do the things you want to do and you don't do the things you don't want to do. Right? Addiction divides our will. It whittles down our internal resistance. And, it kind of leaves us trapped where there's this thing we hate, this thing that we've come to loathe, this thing that we want out of our lives. And yet we can't say no. No matter how hard we try, we just can't do it. That tension right there is diagnostic. I've helped over 1,000 guys quit pornography. I've been doing this podcast for 4.5 years, 1 million downloads plus. I've spoken to, hundreds of thousands of people on Instagram. I'm telling you right now, this is the sign. When desire and values are at war, dependency is always present. So, if this is you, let's be really clear here. I want to give you some practical stuff, not in a pressure way, not in like you have to do this, but I want to at least give you some ideas. I don't want to just, I don't want to just beat the horse here and talk about how bad everything is. I'm sure you get it now. Okay. And if this is you and you're experiencing what I've outlined in this episode, I want you to pay really, really careful attention. Recovery, quitting pornography, rewiring your brain. These are all processes and systems that require time. Now, they require consistency over long periods of time, to be specific. And I don't recommend that you just jump into a big system and get your life back on track. You can do that, and I'm not going to stop you. It's just not what I recommend. Rather than making a forever vow, my recommendation is to start with a 7-day reset. Something that can shoehorn you into a deeper process later on, but at least get the momentum going, because it can be really difficult, especially if you're in a bad position and porn is really wreaking havoc on your life. Something like a 7-day reset is very attainable. It slows down the pattern, it builds some awareness, and it's going to kind of interrupt that automaticity, that habit that has been built up over what is probably years of your life. Now, we have a new initiative here at Deep Clean, which is my coaching practice that's helped 1,000 plus guys quit porn. We have various levels of programs and stuff, but what I want to talk to you guys about today is called the Deep Detox. Okay, this is a guided 7-day experience that's designed to help you interrupt the cycle, rewire your brain, understand what the urge is actually addressing, and replace this kind of reactive behavior with proper structure. There's no white knuckling. It's not a shame-driven approach. It's just a chance for you, like I said, to shoehorn yourself into the recovery journey and to start to make some meaningful progress to living the life that God's designed you. Now, if that's something that you're interested in, you can just go to deepcleancoaching.com/detox. All the information is there for you to learn more. Here's the thing that I need you to understand. Freedom doesn't start with quitting forever. It starts with interrupting patterns long enough to see clearly. So if you want porn but you don't like it, that's not hypocrisy. That's information that we can leverage. And you can ignore it or you can act on it. But if you want some help slowing things down and understanding what's actually driving the urge, we built Deep Detox for exactly this moment. It's a guided 7-day reset designed to help you interrupt the pattern without shame or pressure. And you can find it at deepcleancoaching.com/detox. Start there, because the goal isn't to fight yourself harder. It's to finally understand what you've been trying to numb. Thanks for listening. God bless you guys. I'll see you in the next one.